we got a lot of weird stories for you today. The first story is, I know I don't talk about politics on the show. It is the unwritten but often spoken rule, because just there's too much politics in the world. People need a place to escape. However, I can't let this story go by. We've heard about Russian bots over and over and over again in the news, and now, gentlemen and ladies, or ladies and gentlemen, however the phrase goes, we have uncovered the truth. The year 2018. The month, this month, coincidentally, because it was just in the news. So, they have this big robotics, in Russia, they have this big electronics show. And the presenter was like, it was for youth in technology. He's trying to get them young, trying to get those nerd hooks into those people young. And you might have already seen this in the news, so you know where this is going, but I thought this was absolutely hilarious. So there's this conference, and they brought out this robot, and he's walking, no cables, no, suspension system. He walks out on stage, and they're like, look, this is Boris, the robot. And the audience is like, oh, that's really cool. Now, the presenters had him walk out on stage and dance a little bit and talk, and the youth in the audience were like, oh, cool, it's a robot. And that was kind of it, but what happened was the state Russian network, it's Russian 24, original title, presents this story, and they're like, look at how advanced Russia is. We have this robot. And they're showing this clip. The robot comes out on stage, it's doing a little dance move, it's talking, it's walking around. And the television program was like, this is the state-of-the-art robot that we have invented here in Russia. And at this point, the guys who were running the show that was originally set up to entertain young kids were like, dude, it is only a matter of time before this blows up. People were like, that is one of the most advanced robots ever. A lot of the robots we have are like tread-based or they have 4 legs, but to have a robot that could walk on 2 legs with no additional wires or anything like that, and spoiler alert, it was human-sized, it was a human-sized robot, is quite advanced. Like, Osimo was like 3 feet tall, he was quite slow. This robot was 6 feet tall and was moving, spoiler alert, like a human. And so people were watching this in Russian television, scientists and just around the world, and they're like, where are all the sensors on this robot? Like, where is all of its stuff to be able to tell where to go? Like, it's oddly built. It looks like a human with no additional sensors. Other questions were, why weren't there any research papers being developed on this robot? Why did Boris just walk out on stage one day? Why didn't we see documentation going back saying we've worked on this sensor, we've worked on this sensor? But then another question came up. Someone goes, okay, maybe they put the sensor somewhere we can't see them. Maybe they kept the project under wraps. But why can you see a human neck exposed when he turns his head? Yes, Boris the robot was not a robot. It was a man in a robot suit. And the presenters at the show never once said, we built this robot, this is something real. But when it was reported on Russian television, they said that this was a actual real android. And then photos surfaced of the robot without his head on, and it was human, obviously a human underneath. The company that made the robot costume were like, oh yeah, that's a standard robot costume. Oh, and then Russian 24 took the clip offline, but by then it's all on YouTube, so it's everywhere. So anyways, you can see this robot dancing. I get it, they were just trying to entertain kids. It would be the equivalent is if you had a show and Chuck E. Cheese walked on stage and was waving at the kids and playing the banjo, and then some news network was like, giant mutant rat terrifies children. It was that level of incompetence. And the Chuck E. Cheese people are like, it was just a dude in a suit. You didn't even ask us if it was a real rat running around. Is Chuck E. Cheese a rat or a mouse, actually? The implications if he's a rat are far grosser than if he's a mouse. So, Russian bots. I thought that story was hilarious. It was a mix-up, a little bit of national pride. Sometimes those two things collide. And you get an embarrassing YouTube video that'll be laughed about by dorks and geeks and podcasts for a long time. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.